Right then, gather round, because British politics has just served up another piping hot plate of chaos with a side of delicious drama. Picture this: the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer, sitting in number 10 Downing Street, probably nursing a cup of tepid tea, whilst a Reform UK MP is out there calling him a dead man walking. Not literally dead, of course. That would be far too exciting for British politics. No, politically dead. Politically buried. Politically 6 feet under with nothing but a Westminster tombstone reading, "Here lies Keir's popularity, minus 59 and counting." Lee Anderson has essentially looked at the Prime Minister and said, "Mate, you're finished. Pack your bags. The May elections are coming for you like a freight train made entirely of voter discontent." And honestly, when your political obituary is being written by a Reform UK MP on live television, you know you have reached a very special level of unpopularity. Welcome back to British Mirror, where we dissect the beautiful disaster that is modern British politics. Quick favor, if you're loving this chaos as much as I am, smash that subscribe button. Over 94% of you have not done it yet. It is free, takes literally 1 second, and honestly means everything to us. Cheers if you did. Right, back to watching Keir Starmer's political life flash before his eyes. Now, let us set the scene properly, shall we? We are in early 2026. The May elections are looming on the horizon like a political apocalypse, and Sir Keir Starmer, the man who won a landslide victory less than a year ago, is currently about as popular as a wasp at a garden party. We are talking about a net popularity rating of minus 59. Minus 59. That is not just unpopular. That is, people would rather have a root canal performed by a trainee dentist whilst listening to whole music levels of unpopular. To put that in perspective, you could probably find more people willing to defend pineapple on pizza than defend Keir Starmer's government right now. And that, my friends, is genuinely impressive in the worst possible way. Lee Anderson, the Reform UK MP for Ashfield, decided to pop onto GB News and absolutely demolish whatever was left of Starmer's credibility. Speaking with a kind of blunt honesty that makes political commentators simultaneously clutch their pearls and reach for the popcorn, Anderson did not hold back. He called Starmer the most despised Prime Minister in history. Not just unpopular, not just disliked, despised. That is the kind of word you reserve for historical villains and people who talk loudly on their mobile phones on the train. And here's the kicker. Anderson said everywhere he goes as a politician, people talk to him about how much they cannot stand Starmer. When your unpopularity transcends party lines to the point where even random people in Tesco are having a go at you, that is when you know things have gone spectacularly wrong. But wait, it gets better or worse, depending on your perspective. Anderson went on to say that Starmer is cowardly, that he U-turns on everything, and that he bends to his backbenchers all the time just to save his own skin. Ouch! That is not political criticism. That is a full-on character assassination delivered with the subtlety of a sledgehammer through a greenhouse window. Anderson essentially painted a picture of a prime minister so desperate to cling to power that he will flip-flop on anything and everything just to keep his own MPs from staging a full-scale rebellion. It is like watching someone try to juggle while standing on a unicycle that is on fire, and the unicycle is also made of nitroglycerin. Entertaining? Absolutely. Sustainable? Not remotely. Now, here is where things get properly spicy. Anderson suggested that Starmer's time might be up after the May elections. May elections, for those not intimately familiar with the British political calendar, are local elections where councils across England get reshuffled. Historically, governments tend to take a bit of a kicking in these elections. It is just how the system works. People love to give the ruling party a good thrashing at the local level to express their displeasure without actually changing who runs a country. But this year, the stakes feel different. There is genuine speculation, not just from Reform UK firebrands, but from within Labour itself, that if May turns into an absolute bloodbath, Starmer could face a leadership challenge. And considering Labour's current polling numbers are hovering somewhere between disastrous and genuinely nightmarish, a bloodbath feels less like a possibility and more like an inevitability. So, who could replace him? Anderson mentioned a couple of names, and both are absolutely fascinating in their own right. First up, Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister. Anderson noted that she has sort of gone missing, which is political speak for she has been keeping a suspiciously low profile whilst the ship burns around her. Classic leadership contender behavior. Really, stay quiet. Let the current leader absorb all the damage, then swoop in later looking fresh and untainted by the chaos. It is the political equivalent of waiting until your flatmate has finished doing all the washing up before casually strolling into the kitchen to make yourself a cup of tea. Strategic? Absolutely. Cowardly? Possibly. Effective? History will tell. Then there's Westminster, the health secretary, whom Anderson delightfully described as slithering about in the background. What an image! Westminster, lurking in the shadows of Westminster like a political serpent, waiting for the perfect moment to strike with a proverbial dagger. Streeting has been one of the more visible members of Starmer's cabinet, particularly as he has been attempting to reform the National Health Service, which is a task roughly equivalent to trying to turn the Titanic around using only a kayak paddle. If Starmer falls, Streeting is absolutely positioned to make a play for the leadership. He has the profile, he has the ambition, and crucially, he has managed to avoid being directly blamed for most of Labour's recent disasters, which in current circumstances is basically worth its weight in gold. But here's the truly delicious irony of this entire situation. Keir Starmer himself has been out there insisting everything is fine. Earlier this week, he appeared on the BBC's Sunday with Laura Kewinsburg program and declared with all the confidence of a man standing on a sinking ship whilst insisting it is just a bit of water that he will still be Prime Minister by 2027. He pointed to the chaos of the Conservative government before him, the constant leadership changes, the revolving door of Prime Ministers that gave us Boris Johnson, Liz Truss for approximately 15 minutes, and then Rishi Sunak. Starmer argued that nobody wants to return to that kind of instability. And you know what? He has a point. The Tories absolutely destroyed their credibility through their endless infighting and leadership drama. It was political carnage on a scale rarely seen in modern British politics. Now let's be absolutely clear about something, because this is important. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is suggesting that the government should ignore other religious holidays or pretend that Britain isn't a diverse society. Nobody's saying Diwali doesn't matter, or Eid doesn't matter, or Hanukkah doesn't matter. Of course they all matter, and of course people celebrating those holidays should feel respected and included. But here's the thing. When you're running a campaign specifically about the surge in parcel delivery fraud that happens in December because of Christmas shopping, refusing to say the word Christmas doesn't make you inclusive. It makes you look ridiculous. It makes you look like you're so terrified of causing offense that you've lost the ability to communicate clearly about basic reality. And this is where Lee Anderson's criticism really hits home, because it's not just moaning about political correctness for the sake of it. He's pointing out that the Home Office, the department responsible for keeping Britain safe, appears more concerned with linguistic gymnastics than with actually protecting British traditions and speaking clearly to the British public. When he says they can't protect our borders, let alone our traditions, he's drawing a direct line between institutional dysfunction and cultural timidity. The same department that's struggling to manage immigration, that's overseeing record levels of small boat crossings, that's facing criticism for failing to deport foreign criminals, is now spending time carefully removing the word Christmas from press releases. It's a bad look. It's a really bad look. But let's look at what the campaign is actually about, because buried beneath this linguistic controversy is genuinely important information that people need to hear. The Home Office is warning correctly that scammers absolutely love the Christmas period because they know millions of people are expecting deliveries. These criminals send convincing text messages or emails pretending to be from legitimate courier companies like Every, claiming that your parcel can't be delivered or requires urgent action. They create fake websites that look exactly like real delivery company websites, and when you click the link and enter your details, you're handing your personal and financial information directly to criminals. It's sophisticated, it's widespread, and it's costing people serious money. Lee Howard, who's the head of information security at Every, explained how these scams work. He said criminals use what's called the spray and pray method. They send out thousands of messages every single day, knowing that with millions of parcels being delivered, some of those messages will inevitably reach people who are actually expecting a delivery. During Christmas, when parcel volumes explode and everyone's busy and distracted, the success rate for these scams goes through the roof. Howard specifically mentioned that lots of these messages try to charge a redelivery fee, which is complete nonsense because every will attempt delivery 3 times before returning an item and will never charge a redelivery fee. Every has apparently taken down more than 32,000 of these malicious scams, which gives you some sense of just how massive this problem is. So the actual content of the campaign is vital. People need to know about these scams. They need to be vigilant. They need to check URLs carefully, never click suspicious links, and verify anything unusual directly with a courier company. All of that is genuinely important public service information, which makes it even more baffling that the Home Office decided to undermine their own campaign by turning it into a political football through a bizarre refusal to use normal British English. Because now, instead of people talking about delivery fraud and how to protect themselves, everyone's talking about why the government can't say Christmas. The message has been completely drowned out by the controversy over the messaging. And this speaks to a broader problem in British politics right now, which is that institutions keep shooting themselves in the foot by prioritizing symbolic gestures over substance. They are so worried about being seen as inclusive, so terrified of causing offense, so desperate to avoid criticism from particular activist groups, that they end up making decisions that alienate the vast majority of the population. And the thing is, most British people are perfectly reasonable about diversity and inclusion. They understand that Britain is a multicultural society. They have no problem with other religions and cultures being respected. But what they absolutely cannot stand is being told that their own traditions, the cultural touchstones that have defined British life for generations, need to be hidden away or renamed as if they are somehow shameful. This is exactly the sort of thing that Reform UK, and Lee Anderson specifically, have built their political brand on identifying and calling out. Anderson has positioned himself as someone willing to say what regular people are thinking but feel they are not allowed to say. Whether you agree with him or not, whether you think as a voice of common sense or a provocateur exploiting cultural anxieties, there's no denying that he's tapped into something real.